Devotees, we had last time, I hope you remember that we are discussing second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. The chapter named Contents of Gita summarized. So now, last time, we had completed second section of this chapter. First chapter section of this chapter was Arjun's indecision and accepting Lord Krishna as Guru. That was the first section from 1st to 10th verse. Second section was Jnana or Sankhya, the analysis of body and soul, that is matter and spirit. So that was from 11th verse to 30th verse. Now, Krishna explained till now the science of soul, that is Atma Gyan, Krishna gave, in order to induce Arjun to fight. Now, in order to produce steadiness in this knowledge, now Krishna is going to speak lesser principles, little lower principles. What principles? The principles which promise material benefits by performing actions with personal desires, that is Sakama Karma. So after Jnana or Sankhya Yoga, now Krishna is going to come down to Sakama Karma, or kind of Karma Kanda also. So the next section is from 31st verse to 37th verse, wherein Krishna is going to speak to Arjun about Sakam Karma. So Arjun had previously reasoned that there would be no enjoyment even if he emerges victorious in the battle. When he becomes victorious, there won't be any enjoyment for him. But now Krishna is going to tell Arjun, if he performs his dharma of fighting, then there will be enjoyment. Whether it may be victory or loss, in both the cases he'll enjoy. That's what is the gist of this particular section. Whether he will, if he becomes victorious, he will enjoy on the earth. If he loses and dies in the battlefield, he'll enjoy in the heaven. That he is going to tell. So in this way, he discusses the problems. In this way, he tells that your enjoyment ka jo argument tha, that is ulta. If you fight, you will enjoy it, not by not fighting. Now another thing also he tells, what are the consequences of not fighting? What are the consequences of fleeing away from the battlefield, refraining from fighting? So this process, entire process is called Sakam Karma or Karma Kanda. It is performing prescribed Vedic rituals for fruitful results. So, okay. So please recite verse number 31.
Lalit Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Swadharmapi chaveksha na vikampitum arhasi dharmadviyudvat cheyonyaksha kshatriyasya na vidyate. Translation: considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation.
Yeah. So in this verse, Krishna is telling Arjun to perform his swadharma, that is duty. Swadharma api chaveksha na vikampitum arhasi dharmadhi yuddhat shreyo anyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. So he's telling this is your duty. There is no better engagement for you. Generally, we see that if a person is wrongly engaged, then he will become very miserable. Again. So if a person is something, and if he is not engaged according to that, and sorry to say, but in modern times we see that often happening. Everybody goes for engineering, medical, such fields, irrespective of whether they are inclined for it or not. And then people end up in becoming quite miserable in that. So now, if Arjun, if he tries to be like a Brahmana, and just do go to forest, then he will not be happy. He'll be miserable. So that's why better engagement for every person is based on his varnashrama inclination. If that is the engagement person takes up, he can be happy. When somebody they say the job satisfaction. So Vedic system of job satisfaction is that one should be engaged according to one's varnashram proclivity. Then there is a job satisfaction. So in the purport, Prabhupada talks about same thing. He talks about varnashrama, and according to varnashrama, this kshatriya dharma is meant for protection. Kshat, Prabhupada says kshat means hurt. Kshatrayate, one who protects from hurt, is called as kshatriya. So kshatriyas derives great pleasure in protecting others, in giving protection to the citizens. So that is the nature of kshatriya. So nowadays we see at times people who claim themselves as kshatriyas, they sometimes are like no less than gundas. So we should not think that kshatriya means one who is arrogant and who is after showing his powers to others in such a way that they'll be troubled. That is not a kshatriya. Kshatriya means one who derives great satisfaction in protecting others and managing others so that they'll be peaceful and happy. So goal of kshatriya is not to threaten others or not to make others fearful. The goal of kshatriya is to bring protection and security for people. So that is what kshatriya is. But for that, sometimes they have to fight. Because there are always elements in the society who disturb the peace and prosperity in the society. So for that, a kshatriya should, to protect the general mass of citizens from such a thing, the kshatriya sometimes have to fight. Now, in order to fight, they need to practice. So how the practice will happen? Practice cannot happen on the human beings, right? So that's why kshatriyas are allowed for killing in the forest. So that's why kshatriyas were allowed for hunting. Sometimes they would face a tiger face to face with his sword. The famous example of Bharat. Who else? Okay, Sambhaji Maharaj is saying. But also Bharat. Bharat Maharaj, not Rishabdev's son Bharat Maharaj. Another Bharat, Dushyanta and Shakuntala's son Bharat. He was also very famous for that. He would challenge, a tiger face to face. So, and he would be defeating. Sometimes he would defeat the tiger without any sword also. By his mere hands, he would defeat tiger. Can you imagine? So that is called kshatriya. Not that he sits in an AC room and tells others to fight. That you go and fight and you get killed and I myself. That's not kshatriya. Means he feels happy in getting opportunity for a combat like that. So that's why they would do hunting. But then eventually now what happened? That people started hunting for meat and for other things. And then the number of animals reduced in the forest. Now the forest department and government has made rule that nobody should hunt. And because now, because there is a rule that nobody should hunt, there's many times nowadays, especially in this area of Western Maharashtra, Eastern Maharashtra, that area, many tigers are wandering around and they're killing also so many human beings. And according to government law, you cannot kill also them. You cannot hunt upon them. So human beings are getting hunted by tigers, but tigers are not allowed to be hunted. So there are various reasons why kshatriyas would hunt. One first reason was that there would be fighting. So there would be practice for fighting, for yuddha, because the tiger, or such animals, they are like kind of, they very nicely represented opposite party, so they can give good combat. Second reason is that if these people, their crowd unnecessarily increases, like tigers, if their crowd unnecessarily increases, they'll come to city and they'll kill so many people. Or such animals like boars and all that, they create a lot of disturbance in the fields, agricultural fields. They'll come to agricultural fields and they'll do what? They'll simply destroy the whole crop. So that's why there was kind of regulated killing was allowed only for Kshatriyas and not for eating meat. That may be rare occasion, but in general, Kshatriya would not eat meat, but they would go and they would hunt for their purpose. And in this way, they would maintain the law and order in the society, even from animals. So when the tiger would be killed, Prabhupada says he would be given royal order of cremation. He was given like that. And Prabhupada said this system is till now present in the kingly states of Jaipur. But that time, Prabhupada's time, it was there. Now it is not there mostly. So in this way, Kshatriyas are trained for challenging and killing. Why? Because sometimes religious violence is a necessary factor. So Prabhupada says that's why Kshatriyas never accept sannyas order. For a Brahmana, all 4 orders are there of ashramas. For Kshatriya only, Brahmachari, Grahastha, Vanaprastha, no sannyas. And then further also, there is lesser and lesser. So non-violence may be policy, Prabhupada says, it may be a diplomacy, but it is not a principle for Kshatriya. And Prabhupada is quoting some religious law books. Mostly it is Manu Samhita or something like that. I don't know exactly which one. So, but he says here, the translation is, in the battlefield, a king or Kshatriya, while fighting another king, envious of him, is eligible for achieving the heavenly planets after death. As Brahmanas also attain the heavenly planets by sacrificing animals in the sacrificial fire. So that means killing on the battlefield or killing the animals on the sacrificial fire are not at all considered to be acts of violence, provided that both of them are doing according to Vedic scriptures. Why? Because by such act of violence, everybody else is benefited. So sometimes this violence is to curb, to establish peace. Sometimes the violence is used to establish the peace. Similarly, the animals who are sacrificed in the sacrificial altar during the yajna, he also gets immediately human form of life without undergoing evolutionary cycle. So that we discussed, I think, last time, right? If a particular horse is there, suppose, and he is supposed to die, and then after that, before coming to human birth, he is supposed to take some 10, 15 another types of birth in another species. So all those are cancelled, and immediately from horse life, next life he'll become human being. So that much karma of his is cancelled out, and in this way he gets benefited. So the horse get benefited, and the Brahmanas who perform the yajna, they get benefited, and people in general get benefited. Those who are yajman, they get benefited. Similarly, when there is a battle, when there is a fight on the basis of religious principles, those people who die on the battlefield, they go to heavens, and those who remain, they become victorious. They enjoy the kingdom, and in general, the populace is peaceful and happy because of proper dharmic principles are administered. In this way, everybody benefits from such kind of violence. So this way, the violence which is guided by scriptures and acharyas, that type of violence, especially here the violence which is being guided by Krishna, that so-called violence, Prabhupada says this is not called as violence at all, but such so-called violence is helpful and useful. Then further Prabhupada talks about there are 2 kinds of swadharmas. One is conditional duty, and another is constitutional duty. So conditional duty is based on one's varnashrama inclination, and constitutional duty is our being servant of Krishna, serving Krishna. So Prabhupada says that as long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body. Conditional duty is pertaining to the body, which is varnashrama. And as long as one is not liberated, one must perform this duty according to religious principles in order to achieve liberation. But when one is liberated, then there is no material duty, one can perform only spiritual duty. So in a conditioned state, one has to do both of the duties, conditional duty and constitutional duty. But when one becomes liberated, then there is no need of performing any conditional duty. One can perform only constitutional duty, that is service to Lord, and nothing else is required. So in this way, Prabhupada says that Varnashram system is a stepping stone for spiritual advancement. And that's how the human civilization begins from Varnashrama. Without Varnashrama, the human society cannot be considered to be civilized. The understanding, scriptural understanding of civilized human society means where there is Varnashrama system. Civilized human society doesn't mean that there is some lot of universities for mundane education. There are a lot of factories and companies. That is not civilized. That is not considered to be civilization. Civilization means Varnashrama duties, discharging one's duties based on Varnashrama. And by that, what happens? Of course, that Varnashram has to happen according to higher authorities. And by that, one gets elevated. One gets elevated to the higher status. So, in this way, in this verse, Krishna has told Arjun that for a Kshatriya, fighting is equivalent to a Brahmana's performing of act of fire sacrifice. Brahmana का जो यज्ञ रहता है, Kshatriya के लिए equivalent thing is fighting on a religious battlefield. So, in this way, by performing their duties, neither Kshatriya nor Brahmana incur sinful reactions. So Arjun का fear था, Arjun was afraid that I'll incur sinful reactions by killing. No, by killing on a religious battlefield, you will not incur sinful reactions. And in this way, Krishna argues that Arjun will not be in the problem, or Arjun will not be in the loss. And in fact, he will gain. So that was 31st verse. Okay, please go to 32nd verse.
Mohan Sakha bro.
Okay, Hare Krishna. Yadricha chopapannam
Yadruchaya chopapannam
Swargadvaram apavritam
Swargadvaram
Sukhina kshatriya partha
Sukhina kshatriya partha
Labhante yuddham idrisham. Oh Parth, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such a fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the doors of heavenly planets.
Yeah. So here he's saying those Kshatriyas who get such opportunity of fighting, they are very happy. Generally, Kshatriyas are happy to get an opportunity to fight. We see that when this whether in Krishna's pastimes also, whether it may be killing of Banasur, or this pastime of killing arrangement for Jarasandha, both the cases, all Yadus were extremely eager for going for fighting. So there were two messages came to Ugrasen Maharaj. One message was from the kings who had been imprisoned by Jarasandha. Another message was from Yudhishthir Maharaj. So kings who were imprisoned by Jarasandha, they were requesting, please release us from these clutches of Jarasandha. He's torturing us like anything. And then simultaneously one message came from Yudhishthir Maharaj that he wants to perform Rashtriya sacrifice. That's why he wants all Yadus to come over there. So now Krishna was in dilemma. But all the Yadavas, they were saying, first we should go to Jarasandha. ये बाद में देखेंगे. Rashtriya sacrifice वगैरह बाद में देखेंगे. वो यज्ञ विज्ञ बाद में देखते. पहले जाके fighting करेंगे. They were very eager to go and destroy Jarasandha. But then Krishna said, no, we have to do something. And then he had consulted Uddhava. And Uddhava told Jarasandha cannot be won like that. So there has to be one-to-one duel fight with Bhima. And ultimately Bhima kills. But we see how they were like, typical Kshatriya like that, they were acting. They were very eager for fighting. And similarly, when Banasur was there, everybody was wanting to go and fight with him together. So in this way, Kshatriyas are quite, eager. So Of course, one thing we have to know that this type of fighting, we have to know it is different from the modern context of fighting. Such religious fights would happen outskirts of the city. No citizens would be ever affected. No woman, no children, no old men would be ever killed. And neither any Vaishya, Brahmana or Shudra would be killed. It is said that even those Shudras who would carry the weapons or foods, those who were cooks for the soldiers, they would also be always unharmed. So that is called as actually fighting. We should not think that now the way wars are happening between different countries, it is something very good happening. No, that's not the way, because they are killing innocent children, they are killing women unnecessarily, they are putting bombs on the cities. So we are not talking about it. So this much I think all of you should understand, that this is a Vedic way of fighting, wherein they would that's why they were not fighting together in Hastinapur or Indraprastha. They are all fighting where? Quite far away from that Kurukshetra, and there would be kind of ground of battlefield, and then they would fight there, and only Kshatriyas would fight. No other people would be harmed at all. So we should know this particular fact. So Prabhupada tells in the purport, so this particular verse, Krishna is talking about destination, that such people go to Swarga. So in the purport, Prabhupada says that as a supreme teacher of the world, Krishna condemns this attitude of Arjun, who said that I do not find any good in fighting. In fact, by that I'll go to hell. Prabhupada says that Krishna condemns this, and such statements by Arjun were due to his ignorance only, Prabhupada says. In fact, he wanted to become non-violence, ahinsavadi, in order to discharge his duty. But for a Kshatriya to become non-violent on battlefield, Prabhupada says is philosophy of fools. Whereas Parashar Smriti, what it says, the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens from all kinds of difficulties, and for that reason, he has to apply violence in suitable cases for law and order. Therefore, he has to conquer the soldiers of inimical kings, and thus with religious principles, he should rule over the world. This is the perfect description of rightful violence. So, at the same time, the immortality of soul described in previous section, it does not recommend unnecessary violence. So, unnecessary violence is not recommended. As a Kshatriya, Arjun's dutiful fight for the noble cause of eliminating inimical kings is a religious violence. And there was an approval from Supreme Lord Krishna. So in such a battlefield, killing or being killed in a religious battle leads to heaven and not to hell. So generally, those people who are karmakandiya people, their goal is to go to heaven. So Krishna is telling Arjun, who fears that, what will be the welfare of my relatives? Arjun is afraid of the welfare of his relatives, right? So Krishna is telling he can send them to heaven. You can send your relatives to heaven by defeating them in battle. And in this way, Arjun also will gain and they will also gain. On the other hand, if he doesn't fight, he will lose all. And that will come in the next verse. One remark His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrut Maharaj was giving in this regards, that there are various levels of violence. So one violence, when we say unnecessary violence should be avoided, violence on the level of body, that is well known. So we do not, that doesn't mean that the knowledge of soul doesn't mean that one can open slaughterhouses. So that was discussed elaborately, we had discussed it before. There is a violence towards mind or subtle body, that is speaking very harsh and very, very painful words. That is violence towards mind. And there is a violence towards soul. Violence towards soul is not allowing a living entity to practice Krishna consciousness. So if somebody opposes some other person in practicing Krishna consciousness, he is committing a violence. And Maharaj says that this is most severe type of violence. because we are keeping, that person is keeping another person, forcefully in the clutches of material world. And that is the most severe type of violence, not allowing others to practice Krishna consciousness. Like that, or discouraging others from practicing Krishna consciousness, like that. Okay, so let's go to verse number 33. Please recite.
Mandar Prabhu.
अथ चेत्त्वाम् इमं धर्म्यम्
अथ चेत्त्वामिमं धर्म्यं
सङ्ग्रामं न करिष्यसि
संग्रामं
संग्रामं न
करिष्यसि
तथा स्वधर्मं किरीटं च
तथा
स्वधर्मं
किरीटं च
हित्वा पापम् अवाप्स्यसि
हित्वा
पापम्
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 अवाप्स्यसि।
अवाप्स्यसि.
Translation: If, however, you do not perform this religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter.
Yeah, please read purport.
Purport: Arjun was a famous fighter and he attained fame by fighting many great demigods, including even Lord Shiva. After fighting and defeating Lord Shiva in the dress of a hunter, Arjun pleased the Lord and received as a reward a weapon called Pashupadastra. Pashupadastra. Everyone knew that he was a great warrior. Even Dronacharya gave him benedictions and awarded him the special weapon by which he could kill even his teacher. So he was credited with so many military certificates from many authorities, including his adopted father Indra, the heavenly king. But if he abandoned the battle, not only would he neglect his specific duty as a Kshatriya, but he would lose all his fame and good name and thus prepare his royal road to hell. In other words, he would go to hell not by fighting, but by withdrawing from battle.
Yeah. So Krishna is telling, Arjuna was telling that if I fight, I'll go to hell. Krishna is saying, if you don't fight, you'll go to hell because you are neglecting your duty. Like that. In that way, you will incur sins. If one does not do one's duties, then one becomes sinful. Like that. So in this way, this verse is specifically defeating Arjun's argument that he will incur sins by fighting. Rather, the opposite is true. So next verse onwards, Krishna is going to speak to Arjun. What are the additional losses he's going to incur by leaving the battlefield? What are the other arguments? Because Arjun had given a lot of arguments why he should not fight. Now Krishna is going to tell more additional disadvantages of not fighting. Okay, 34th verse, please recite.
Mayapur Vihari Prabhu.
अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि
Akirtim chapi bhutani
कथयिष्यन्ति ते अव्ययम्
kathayishyanti te
कथयिष्यन्ति ते
vyayam
अव्ययम्.
सम्भावितस्य चाकीर्तिर्
sambhavitasya
सम्भावितस्य
chakirti
चाकीर्तिः
मरणादतिरिच्यते
maranadatirichyate.
मरणादपि रिच्यते।
People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
Yeah, please read purport.
Both as friend and philosopher to Arjun, Lord Krishna now gives his final judgment regarding Arjun's refusal to fight. The Lord says, Arjuna, if you leave the battlefield before the battle even begins, people will call you a coward. And if you think that people may call you bad names, but that you will save your life by fleeing the battlefield, then my advice is that you do better to die in the battle. For a respectable man like you, ill fame is worse than death. So you should not flee for fear of your life. Better to die in the battle. That will save you from the ill fame of misusing my friendship and from losing your prestige in society. So the final judgment of the Lord was for Arjun to die in the battle and not withdraw.
Yeah. So in this one, Krishna is talking about infamy, akirti. Hmm. So Krishna is telling not only you will incur sinful reactions, but you will also become infamous. You will lose all your reputation as a fighter. Hmm. So Arjun was such a famous fighter who had defeated even demigods. Hmm. And he had helped demigods, by killing Nivata Kavachas. Hmm. So in this, we were so famous as a fighter. Now, if he runs away from battlefield, what people will say? Oh, he just ran. Hmm. So in this way, he will lose his reputation as a fighter, and people will keep on taunting him in this way. And for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. So that's why better to die in battle, isn't it? Dishonor is worse than death. Now one may question why such a pure devotee like Arjun should be concerned about honor or dishonor, isn't it? Pure devotee should be equipoised. He should not be worrying so much about honor and dishonor. Hmm. But we should understand that in this section, Krishna is not speaking to Arjun as a pure devotional platform. Krishna is speaking to Arjun in a Kshatriya spirit. Hmm. He is addressing Arjun as a brave Kshatriya. And for a Kshatriya, the pain of disgraced life is more painful than death. For a warrior, it's more painful than death. So somebody who loses his reputation, that is considered to be extremely painful. Sometimes such people who lose their reputation, they become extremely frustrated, and even they gradually just give up their life anyways, either by themselves ending their life, or by you know or by becoming kind of disinterested in life at all completely. So Kshatriya, it is very, very troublesome and very, very painful to lose his reputation. So that's why Krishna is telling Arjun that if you go away, anyways your life will be very miserable, because you will be always living in misery. People will tell, hey, Arjun kya tha? अरे वो तो भाग गया. अरे अर्जुन क्या था? वो तो भाग गया कुरुक्षेत्र से. ऐसा लोग बोलेंगे तो it will be extremely painful for you. So you will not be able to live anyways peaceful life. Even if you run away from battlefield, and even if you go anywhere you go, people will talk about you this way. Hey, you have ran away from battle. So that will be more worse than death. Better to die. Better you die in the battlefield. That will give you a little peace. At least you will go in the Swarga. But like that. Okay. 35th verse. Please recite.
Mayuresh Prabhu.
भयाद्रनादुपुरन्ते
Bhayadranaduparatam
मयंस्ते त्वामहारथा
Mamsite
Maharata
बहुमन्त्वे
Yesham
Yesham Chatvam Bahumato
भूत्वा यशसि लाघवम्
Bhutva
Bhutva
Yasasi
Yasasi
Laghavam.
Laghavam.
Translation. The great generals who have highly estimated your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Purport. Lord Krishna continued to give his verdict to Arjun. Do not think that the great generals like Duryodhana, Karna, and other contemporaries will think that you will leave the battlefield out of compassion for your brother and grandfather. They will think that you have left out of fear for your life, and thus their high estimation of your personality will go to hell.
Yeah. So here Krishna is addressing the point of criticism, ninda. So the great warriors, especially from opposite party, who had great estimation of you, they considered you to be very brave and powerful warrior. They will not think that you have gone out of compassion. They'll think because of being cowardly you have gone. And in this way, उनके आंखों में भी आप गिर जाएंगे, basically. उनकी नजर में आप गिर जाएंगे. So that's what he's saying in verse number 35. So basically, Krishna is telling that for a Kshatriya such as Arjun, loss of his reputation and others' esteem for him, दूसरों का judgment है उनके प्रति, that will be more painful than his enemies' arrows. तो enemies के arrows लेना वो ज़्यादा peaceful रहेगा, but वो ऐसा type of loss of reputation and others' estimation of you, if that is lost, that is more painful than the arrows itself of enemies. Okay, please recite verse number 36.
विवेक प्रभु.
Avacha vadansh bahu
अवाच वादांश बहु
padishyanti tava hita
वदिष्यन्ति तवाहितः
nindasta tava samarthyam
Nindastastava samartham
tato dukkham taram nu kim.
ततो
Dukkataram nukim.
Translation. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you?
Yes, please read purport.
Lord Krishna was astonished in the beginning at Arjuna's uncalled plea for compassion, and he described his compassion as befitting the non-Aryans. Now, in so many words, he has proved his statement against Arjuna's so-called compassion.
Yeah. So here he is saying that your samartham will be doubted, criticized by your enemies. They will say you have no samartham. You have no power. And that will be more painful, dukkha for you. So in this way, Arjun's compassion will be seen as cowardly weakness, and the result of his so-called compassion, which is based on illusion, there will be simply infamy. And in this way, Krishna has thoroughly defeated Arjun's argument of compassion, like that. So go to next verse, 37th.
नयन प्रभु.
Yes. अतो वा प्राप्यसि स्वर्गम्
Hato va
प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम्
जित्वा वा भोक्ष्यसे महिम्
jitva
Va bhokshase mahim.
तस्मात् उत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय
Tasmaduttishta kaunteya.
युद्धाय कृतनिश्चय.
Yuddhaya krita
Translation. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attend the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight.
Purport.
Purport. Even though there was no certainty of victory for Arjuna's side, he still had to fight, for even being killed there, he could be elevated into the heavenly planets.
Yeah. So here Krishna is telling Arjun that you will be benefited in either way. If you are killed, you will get heaven. If you are victorious, you will enjoy the earth. So that's why Kruta Nishchaya is telling, with full determination you fight. Kruta Nishchaya, Nishchay karke fight karo. Like that is telling. So we see that previously Arjun had concluded that fighting would bring him not enjoyment but misery. Now herein Krishna has defeated this point that winning in the battle, Arjun was thinking, will cause the death of those with whom I would have enjoyed the kingdom, and losing will mean my own death. That's what was Arjun's argument. But Krishna reverses Arjun's plan for attaining happiness. Krishna says that if you are killed, you will go to heaven. If you are victorious, you will enjoy. So Arjun had thought it would be lose-lose situation. Do you remember we had discussed? Arjun thought it would be lose-lose situation. Whether I win or I lose, both way I lose only. Krishna is telling no, it is win-win situation. Totally opposite कर दिया उसको, lose का win कर दिया कृष्णा ने. You understand this? Krishna, you remember that argument of Arjun? कि if I die also, then anyways I am going to die if I lose, and if I become victorious also, with whom I will enjoy, there won't be any enjoyment. It is simply stinted with sinful activities and all. So Krishna is very systematically defeating all of Arjuna's argument. Krishna is saying no, that is win-win situation, whether you die or become victorious, like that. So in this way, there is no loss in either event. That's why Krishna says, get up and fight with determination. So these arguments which Krishna gave till now, they are meant to inspire Arjun to fight for material enjoyment based on identifying oneself with one's body. So that Krishna made it as a motivating force for Arjun to perform his duty. And in this way, this ends this particular section. And then now he is going to speak on the next section is going to begin. So after completing these arguments of Krishna for inspiring Arjun to act in Sakama Karma, now Krishna is going to explain working in knowledge without attachment to results, that is Nishkama Karma Yoga. So verse number 38 to 53 is Buddhi Yoga or Nishkama Karma Yoga. What is that? That is detached work without reactions. Detached work without reactions. This is 38 to 53. Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. So in this section, Krishna, we will see that how Arjun wanted to avoid war due to fear of sinful reactions. And Krishna already told him that it is by avoiding one's duty of fighting, he is going to get sinful reaction. Now in this section, Krishna will explain how one can avoid sinful reactions by performing one's duty with detachment from results. So not by giving up duty, but by performing duty at the same, one can perform duty at the same time, one can remain aloof from sinful reactions. How to do that? That is Krishna is going to tell. So previous section, Krishna first explained jnana or knowledge, then karma or work. Now he is telling Arjun to work with knowledge and detachment as an offering to Lord. That process is called Nishkama Karma Yoga. Nishkama Karma Yoga means working with knowledge and detachment and offering the results to the Supreme Lord. So 38th verse, please recite.
Pritish Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhu. Dukhe dukhe same krutva.
Sukha dukhe same krutva.
Labha labho jaya jayo.
Labho jaya jayo.
Tato yudhyaya yujyasva.
Tato yudhaya yujyasva.
Nevam papam avapsasi.
Nevam papam avapsyasi.
Translation. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin.
Yeah. So here Krishna is telling Arjun, Sukha Dukkha Same Krutva, become equal in happiness and distress. Sukha Dukkha Same Krutva. Labha Labho Jaya Jayo, win, gain and loss, victory or defeat. Just fight for the sake of fighting as a duty. Perform your duty as the performance of the sake of performing duty. So in Vedic times, we see that performance of duty itself was considered to be reward. And that's why the Vedic civilization, everybody was extremely interested in performing their own duty. They would consider that to be great victory or that to be a greatest achievement in their life if one can perform one duty very properly. They didn't want any other reward for it. The opportunity to perform one's duty was itself considered to be the biggest reward. And we see that's what is so that brings, kind of very great harmony in the society. If people are only after the results, many times we see that people don't want to do their duties, but they want big results. Like sometimes they don't want to study, but still they want good marks. Sometimes in the company they don't want to work, still they want a lot of money, isn't it? So in this way, person doesn't want to do his duty. Similarly, in household, sometimes people don't want to do their duty to family, but still they want that family should go on very well. All family should cooperate. Similarly, in spiritual life, one doesn't want to do one's duty, but still he wants Krishna to reciprocate like anything. From his side, Krishna should give me everything. I won't do my duty. I won't do my sadhana. I won't do my service, but I want a lot of rewards, from Krishna. Like that. Sometimes people say, oh, I am practicing since so many years. Why tears are not coming? Why love is not coming? But we can first check how I am practicing, whether I am doing my duty properly of devotional service. So in this way, that's why we have to understand from this that performance of duty is most important factor. First of all, performance of duty is in our hands. Results are in Lord's hands. So we should worry about our own job, not Lord's job. Like that. Of course, we can keep some kind of goal. That is not a problem. But most important is performance of duty. So naivam papam avapyasi. If one functions in this way, you will never incur sin. If you do for the sake of duty and without getting affected by the dualities of life, then you will not incur sin. So, and in this way, Prabhupada says in the purport that Krishna now directly says Arjuna should fight as a duty for the sake of fighting, because Krishna desires the battle. Krishna wants him to fight, so he should fight, like that. So don't consider whether you will be happy or distressed. Because Krishna is desiring, Krishna wants you to do, so you should do it, like that. So, and in this way, Prabhupada said, everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna in transcendental consciousness. So there is no reaction. Akarma. Akarma means what? When things are performed for the pleasure of Krishna in transcendental consciousness, then there is no reaction for material activities. So even though person may be appearing to be performing material activities apparently, but he is not bound by the reactions. So just like a Rajarshi. Rajarshi means he is Raja, but Rishi means what? He rules the kingdom, but on the basis of, for the pleasure of the Lord, on the basis of religious principles given by the Lord, then he is Rishi also. Similarly, one can do one's studies, one can do one's household duties, one can do one's career duties. All these duties can be performed in a manner to please Krishna and offering one's results to Krishna, then one does not incur any reactions for it. And that is called as akarma, although apparently they may appear to be like ordinary duties. So we see that typically Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he was so expert in performing his duty of a judge, magistrate. So one of the Babaji, he criticized Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Hey, what kind of Vaishnava you are? You are going outside and doing job. You are wearing a coat and tie, not dhoti kurta, whatever coat. Unka jo dress tha, magistrate ka, used to wear that. He said, what kind of Vaishnava you are? So Bhaktisarana Thakur was that time a small boy. He immediately objected. He said, don't consider, just because my father is going to court or just because he is wearing some court dress, don't consider it to be a materialistic person. He is a very, very great Paramahamsa Vaishnava. And that Babaji was shocked. Such a small boy also has that understanding. So externally he was appearing like any other magistrate, but he was doing everything for pleasure of the Lord, everything on the behalf of the Lord. And in this way, his so-called material life was no more material life. It was only spiritual life. It was also spiritual life. So one time, His Holiness Bhakti Prem Maharaj had come to our voice. So devotees asked him, Maharaj, how to balance between material life and spiritual life? Maharaj said, balance between material life and spiritual life means 100% spiritual life and 0 material life. And devotees shocked. They said, Maharaj is saying, maybe Maharaj is telling us to take sannyas or something, like him become a sannyasi. And then somebody asked Maharaj, but what about our studies? So then Maharaj told, you should study very nicely for the pleasure of Krishna. If you study nicely, then you should become topper, and then you should preach everyone that because I am devotee, so I am studying. And then devotees understood that study is not a material life, study is a spiritual life. It is done in a spirit of service to Krishna. It is no more a material life. Similarly, taking care of family is no more a material life. It is a spiritual life. So then devotees understood. What do you mean by balance? Means basically give up concept of materialism. Doesn't mean you give up material duties or material activities. Give up the concept of materialism in itself. That is, I am Bhakta. I should enjoy everything. It is for my enjoyment. You serve for Krishna, you do it for Krishna, then it all becomes spiritual life. And that's why Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Jaina Dina Grihe Bhajana Dekhi Grihete Goloka Bhai Ghari Vaikuntha Ho Gaya Golok Vrindavan Ho Gaya. That's what is recommended. Okay, so yeah. So Prabhupada says here that everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna consciousness, and then there is no everything should be performed for the sake of Krishna consciousness, and then there is no reaction. On the other hand, one who acts for his own sense gratification, such a person, even if he is in goodness, is subject to reaction. Even if somebody acts in goodness, but he'll get reactions, either good or bad reactions he'll get, So in this way, somebody who has surrendered to Krishna, in fact, he is not debtor to anyone. In Prabhupada quotes the famous verse of Devarshi Bhutaptam Nunam Patramam from Bhagavatam. So in this way, Arjun had reasoned before that fighting in the battle would cause him to suffer prolonged sinful reactions. But here Krishna explains that there no sin will be incurred by one who executes his duty in proper consciousness. So now, previously, to remove Arjun's argument against fighting, Krishna prescribed in Jnana, the difference between body and the soul. Now, Arjun and the warriors, they are eternal souls, and that's why nobody would die. That was Krishna's argument. The only body which in any way is going to die, that will only be slain, but the soul is not going to die. Now, after giving this Jnana, now Krishna encouraged Arjun to fight based on fruitive considerations, that is karma, to gain pleasure and to avoid suffering. So the purpose of karma was that we will get some enjoyment. Now Krishna instructing Arjun to combine both jnana and karma to fight without material attachment. So jnana is about material detachment, whereas karma is about material activity. Means do material activity, apparently material activity with detachment. That's what Krishna is telling now. So working in this detached consciousness is called Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. So this word Buddhi Yoga is going to come quite often in Bhagavad Gita. So what is the definition of Buddhi Yoga? Working in detached consciousness. Detached work on the platform of knowledge. That is called as Buddhi Yoga.
Sorry to interrupt. Proji, your
So
video is freezed. Your video is freezed and your voice is breaking in between.
Oh God.
Not for long, Proji, few seconds, like last 30.
Now you are able to see me?
Yes, Proji, now we are able to view your video. Yes, and audio also is clear, Proji.
Okay, so I'll repeat last point.
Yeah.
So last point was that previously Krishna told Arjun to act on the platform of Jnana, because everyone is soul, and anyway soul cannot be killed. So only inevitable bodies are going to be slain, which is inevitable. Bodies are going to die anyways one day or other. So in this way, Krishna told Arjun to be working on detached spirit. Now, after that, Krishna told Arjun that you should work for enjoyment. That is what was karma. Now, henceforth, Krishna is going to tell Arjun to combine both jnana and karma. That means you fight, but in detached spirit. Jnana entails detached spirit. Karma entails performing one's duties. So in this way, you do both the things. And in this way, working in this detached consciousness is called as Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga. So these two terminologies are very, very important. Nishkama Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga means what? detached work on the platform of knowledge. Detached work on platform of knowledge. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan, he defines Buddhi Yoga as Nishkama Karma Yoga incorporating jnana within itself. Like that he says. Now there are two levels on which one can perform Nishkama Karma Yoga. And that depends on one's advancement in transcendental knowledge. One who simply has jnana, knowledge that he is not this body, he performs Nishkam Karma Yoga, a detached work. Such a person, what is the result? He receives no reaction for his work because his knowledge has fostered his detachment from work's result. He becomes detached from the results, and that's why he performs work with detachment, and that's why there are no reactions. However, a person who has got actual knowledge of Krishna possesses a superior knowledge. He not only knows his spiritual identity as beyond this body, but he also knows that he is Krishna's eternal servant. And in this way, one who performs Nishkama Karma in such a spirit, certainly he does not receive reaction to the work, because not only he becomes detached from the fruits of his work, he offers the fruits of his work to Krishna. You understood the difference? First person is only detached because he has only one knowledge that I am not this body, I am soul. So in this way, even if I perform work, but I am not attached to the fruits, and he just performs for the sake of his duty. But second person, he not only performs his work in a detached spirit for his own enjoyment, but he is very much eager to offer those fruits to Krishna. And in this way, he also does not incur any reactions. Now, both these people are free. Both of these Nishkama Karma yogis are free from reactions to their work. They both are doing akarma. So, but the second person, the person who performs his detached work as a result, as a offering to Krishna in devotional service, such a person, will get the lotus feet of Krishna in his life. So, such a person may not be yet on the level of transcendental devotional service, but his activities will one day lead him to Krishna's lotus feet. So those people who only knows that they are not this body, he may desire Brahmavad, or basically Mukti. Whereas those people who perform this with understanding that I want to offer these results to Krishna, slowly they will come to the platform of Bhakti Yoga, and in this way they will attain Krishna's lotus feet. But the other person may generally attain Mukti. If his transcendental knowledge increases, he may associate with Vaishnavas, and then he may come to this second platform of Nishkama Karma Yoga, and then eventually he also may attain Krishna's lotus feet. So in this way, in this verse, Krishna has directly instructed Arjuna to fight, though his order is in the form of requesting Arjuna to fight dutifully for the sake of fighting. Although Krishna is telling that you fight for the sake of fighting as a duty, but indirectly Krishna is telling you fight for my pleasure. That way he is instructing. So in this way, we'll see in the due course, Arjuna's fighting will be impelled by his desire to fulfill the order of Krishna. So although in the beginning it appears that he's only doing a detached work, but eventually we'll see that he is going to fight because it is Krishna's desire, not simply with the knowledge of that he is not this body. Additionally, it is Krishna's desire towards him, Krishna's order towards him. So that is called bhakti. So, yeah, and this way Arjuna automatically will remain sinless. Yeah, so please recite verse number 39.
Rasarasik Prabhu.
एषापि विहिता सांख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे त्वयि मां शृणु बुद्ध्या युक्तो यया पार्थ
Buddhya yukto yaya
partha
Karma bandham prahasyasi.
karma bandham prahasyasi.
Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain in it terms of working without fruitive result. O son of Pritha, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works. Shall I read for the purport?
Buddhi
According to
yoga now is explaining.
okay.
No, don't read. I am. So Buddhi yoga Krishna is telling here. He's telling that till now I have given you the analytical description of body and soul, that is Sankhya yoga or Jnana yoga. Now you hear about Buddhi yoga. Esha te bhita Sankhya Buddhi yoge so imam shunum. Buddhi yoga word comes here now. Buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi. So when you engage yukta, when you make your intelligence is yukta in this yoga, you'll become free from the bondage, karma bandham. So the acharyas have explained that in this section, Buddhi yoga indicates both karma yoga and bhakti yoga. So sometimes the word Buddhi yoga exclusively indicates bhakti yoga or devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which will come in future. But this verse refers to both. Buddhi yoga is basically Nishkama Karma yoga as well as bhakti yoga. So in the purport, Prabhupada writes that according to Prabhupada gives some kind of analysis of what Sankhya. Sankhya means, Prabhupada quotes Nirukti dictionary. So Nirukti is a Vedic dictionary, just like we have Cambridge dictionary, Oxford dictionary. So Vedic times also there was a dictionary that was called as Nirukti. Another is Amar Kosh. So this dictionary, Sankhya means which describe things in detail. And that's why Sankhya means the philosophy will describe the real nature of the soul. And yoga means it involves controlling the senses. So Arjun's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification before. In fact, he was forgetting his duty and wanted to not fight based on the calculations of sense gratification. But so whatever happiness he derived from conquering the enemies or happiness derived by seeing kinsmen alive are both on the basis of personal sense gratification. And Arjun was trying to even sacrifice the wisdom and duty for that. But Krishna wanted him to, that's why Krishna explained Arjun that by killing the body of his grandfather, he would not be killing the soul proper. And he explained that all individual persons, including the Lord himself, are eternal individuals. They are individuals in the past, they are individuals in the present, that they will continue to remain individuals in the future. And in this way, we are eternally individuals. We simply change our bodies. So now this descriptive knowledge of the soul and the body from different angle of vision has been described here as Sankhya in the terms of Nirukti dictionary. So these are all Sankhya. Prabhupada is telling in the purport. Now Prabhupada says this Sankhya has nothing to do with Sankhya which is propounded by atheistic Kapila. There was one atheistic Kapila, So the real Sankhya was given by Devahuti Putra Kapila, whose pastime comes in 3rd canto. The son of Kardama and Devahuti was Kapila, who was incarnation of Supreme Lord. And he explained this type of theistic Sankhya to his mother. Whereas there was later on some imposter Kapila who has given us atheistic Sankhya. Atheistic Sankhya means analysis of only material elements and disregarding the existence of spirit soul. So we know that, basically Sankhya Yoga is about counting various elements, analyzing those elements. So atheistic Sankhya does not count spirit soul and does not talk about anything about spirit soul. That way atheistic Sankhya philosophy. But Prabhupada says that actual philosophy was given by Devahuti Putra Kapila, who is the incarnation of Lord. And it is clearly explained that Purusha or the Supreme Lord is active and he created the world by looking for the Prakriti. And this is the real conclusion of Vedas. So conclusion of Vedas is there is not only soul, there is super soul, Supreme Lord, who glanced over the Prakriti and then impregnated it with the atomic individual soul. So at the time of devastations, all souls are within the body of Lord Mahavishnu. At the beginning of creation, Lord Mahavishnu glances over Prakriti, and in this way, all souls are transferred from the body of Mahavishnu to the womb of material nature. And in this way, all these living entities, souls, they come out and they work in this material world for sense gratification as per their desire under the spell of material energy. And this Prabhupada says that this mentality of thinking themselves to be enjoyers and they want to enjoy this material world is dragged to the last point of liberation when the living entity wants to become one with the Lord. This is the last snare of Maya or sense gratificatory illusion. And it is only after many births of such sense gratificatory activities, such a great soul surrenders unto Vasudeva or Lord Krishna, therefore, by fulfilling the search for his ultimate truth. So what is the last layer of Maya or the highest amount of sense gratification? I am one with God. I am God. May he Bhagwan hu. This is the last layer of Maya. Means even though the person may appear to be spiritualist, but actually is the biggest sense gratificator in the guise of spiritualist. That's why it is the last layer of Maya. Somebody thinks he has become one with God now. He has only become God. I am God. So this is the last snare of Maya and the highest sense gratification, like that. Because he thinks that now I will enjoy like God. Till now I had a limited scope of enjoyment. Now because I have become God, I can unlimitedly enjoy. And this particular philosophy has spoiled the apparent Hindu religion because of this particular mentality, this Mayavad philosophy. So whereas Buddhi Yoga or Karma Yoga is the practice of devotional service only for the sense gratification of the Lord. So once one person asked Prabhupada, what is the goal of life? Prabhupada says sense gratification. And that person became happy. He said, not yours, Lord's. You have to give sense gratification to the Lord. That is the goal of life. So rather than working for our sense gratification, one should work for Krishna's sense gratification. And in this way, one comes in direct communion with the Lord, who is sitting as Paramatma in one's heart. And by such, without devotional service, such communication does not take place. And this is another way of Buddhi Yoga Prabhupada is explaining. Buddhi Yoga means what? Krishna gives you intelligence within the heart, how to act. Krishna is getting in from the heart. So Prabhupada quotes this verse. Tesham satata yuktanam vajatam prati purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam yenamam upayantite, which will come ahead. So those who are always acting in devotional service out of love, Krishna awards pure knowledge of devotion devotion in love to them. And in this way, devotee can reach to his eternal blissful kingdom. So Prabhupada says further ahead in the purport that Krishna gave this Sankhya Yoga only so that Arjun will come to the point of Buddhi Yoga or Bhakti Yoga. So that's why Lord Kapila's Sankhya Yoga and Krishna, what he's speaking as Lord Krishna's Sankhya Yoga and Lord Kapila's Sankhya Yoga are same, one and the same, and that is basically Bhakti Yoga. That's what Prabhupada concludes in the purport. And that's why Prabhupada said one should therefore understand that Buddhi Yoga means to work in Krishna consciousness in full bliss and knowledge of devotional service. One who works for the satisfaction of the Lord only, however is difficult such work may be, is working under the principles of Buddhi Yoga, and he finds himself always in transcendental bliss. So do you remember two categories of Nishkama Karma Yoga? So Prabhupada is speaking a lot about next category now, working only for the satisfaction of the Lord. And such a person, one who works for the satisfaction of the Lord, Prabhupada says, he always finds himself in transcendental bliss. And by such transcendental engagement, one achieves all transcendental understanding automatically by the grace of the Lord. And thus his liberation is complete in itself without making extraneous efforts to acquire knowledge. So Lord gives him knowledge within. So a person is engaged in devotional service, it is the Lord who gives him knowledge from within. That's what Prabhupada says. So So here the activities of Jnana Yoga are basically the same as those of Sankhya Yoga, the analytical study of matter and spirit. Now, to practice either, one must renounce all activities and practice meditation. To practice Jnana or Sankhya Yoga, one has to renounce all the activities and practice meditation. Krishna, however, has consistently instructed Arjun in another way. He has told him to work in renounced spirit, not to renounce activity itself. So karma sannyas is not being approved by Krishna. One should perform activities, but in a renounced spirit. So this verse, it hints that automatic analytical study, that is Sankhya, means renunciation of activity, which if successfully performed, it elevates one to Jnana. But Krishna does not recommend Arjun to renounce his activities. He therefore explains that the benefits of action, not renunciation of activity. And in this way, he says that action should be executed in knowledge, the understanding that one is not this body. And in this way, Krishna encourages Arjun to listen attentively and hear how he can become free from sinful reactions. So this is basically first type of Nishkama Karma Yoga, wherein one acts in knowledge, detached from the fruits. And then in the purport, Prabhupada talks about second type. So basically this Karma Yoga or Buddhi Yoga, it can be practiced at different stages. Karma Yoga also has got many stages, right from beginning from Sakama Karma Yoga up to it comes to highest level of Buddhi Yoga that we talked, Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Purvakam. That is the highest point. So the topmost stage, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, is when Krishna blesses the devotee and inspires within him to fulfill, to give him buddhi and to how to act. So Krishna, when he dictates for a devotee, then such a person effortlessly becomes fully absorbed in Krishna consciousness and he attains love of God. So first level of person, Nishkama Karma Yogi, he may attain some kind of liberation. Whereas the person who acts by devotional service to the Lord, based on the knowledge given by the Lord, inspiration given by the Lord, he attains love of God. So that is the highest level of Nishkama Karma Yoga, which is called Buddhi Yoga. And there is another level also we discussed. So in between, there are many levels like that. Okay, so verse, we are up with the time. Fine, we can continue tomorrow. Our time is up. So we'll continue tomorrow with 40th verse. Very famous verses are coming up. So we'll discuss them tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Grantharaj Bhagavad Gita ki
Jai.
Jai. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, I have a doubt. In verse number 38, you explained about two kinds of Nishkam Karma Yoga. So in that, the first category, if suppose a person, he is working, but he has knowledge about soul and body, he may not have knowledge about God. So that and he is working with detachment because he understands that there will be so many material problems. If I do work and if I become attached to results, I will incur sin. So he is working in a detached way. But he don't have knowledge of God. He have knowledge only of soul and body. So does this also come in Nishkam Karma Yoga? Means there is some knowledge of God also. I am offering results to Krishna.
Yoga means, in general, yoga means it should connect to God. But this is like, generally they have understanding of kind of Brahman.
Prabhuji, you are not audible.
These are not meeting.
I think he'll join back. Yeah.
But here people have some kind of concept of Brahman.
Prabhuji, you are not, your voice is very low, Prabhuji. Can you repeat?
Prabhuji, can you please repeat? Because that unable to hear you last. No, Prabhuji, still
No,
not audible.
Prabhuji.
Now you speak. No, I can't hear. I will speak. You can hear me? They say my voice is low.
Voice is low, Guruji.
Now we can hear you also. Now still it is low?
Now
Yes, sir, now
now
we are able to
we are able to hear you. Yes.
Yes. So you could hear what I said. Generally, yoga means it should connect to the supreme. So such people, what you described, generally they have some kind of impersonating Brahman understanding. And in this way, they generally attain some Brahman realization.
Oh, okay, Guruji. So in that means it is like I am only negating the things
Yeah.
just because there are a lot of problems I face.
Negating the cause of suffering, but there is no positive step towards the Lord.
Yeah. Okay, Guruji. Thank you.
Yes. Any other devotee has any question?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hello. Prabhuji, why would somebody do a Nishkam Karma Yoga? I mean, what would be the impetus to do it? If he has no knowledge of the Lord, why would somebody even do it?
Because Nishkama Karma Yoga means basically one is detached from the fruits of his activity. So he understands that when we try to enjoy the fruits of activity, we suffer. Always it may look like enjoyment, but there is an inevitable suffering comes. So if I don't enjoy the fruits of my activities, then there won't be suffering. And that's why one works in that way. But then why should work at all if there is no need of fruits? If one doesn't enjoy fruits, because one has got a body and one cannot remain without working. That's why one has to work. So that's why one works, but he doesn't want to enjoy fruits because he understands by enjoying the fruits, I suffer in this world. I get karmic reactions by enjoying the fruits of my activities. So if I enjoy the fruits of my activities, then I have to also get good or bad karma out of it, and it further leads to suffering. So that's why he does work, but he doesn't want to enjoy the fruits. He becomes detached from the fruits. Like for example, somebody says, okay, I'll any particular work we may take. Suppose somebody says, I'll do this business. So now, if he enjoys the results of business, he becomes attached. Then there are some inevitable expectations. I got this much profit, but that another businessman got much more profit than me. So in this way, although he is enjoying the one sense the profit of his activities, but because of his comparison with others, he suffers. Or with that enjoyment, he has to pay taxes of his, isn't it? So he feels paid because of having to pay taxes because he feels that no, all money I should only enjoy, isn't it? So attachment to the fruits gives kind of suffering also, right? It gives a suffering, and that's why person wants to renounce the fruit so that he becomes free from suffering. Is that okay?
Yes, Prabhuji. Do we know what is the ladder? I mean, I guess Gurujan Prabhu had mentioned it somewhere. Like say Karma Yoga, Sakam Karma Yoga, then Nishkam Karma Yoga, then the Nan gets added to, then becomes Bhakti Yoga. So how does that go up?
So lowest is basically karma. So there is a yoga ladder mentioned here. Lowest of all is the karma, and further is karma yoga. Then there is a jnana yoga, and ultimately it is bhakti yoga. But exactly, I'll tell you, this is what is a general this thing. Yoga ladder means
So for Jnana Yoga and Sankhya Yoga, we relate to the same, right? They both are nothing but same.
Yeah.
Or there is difference.
Nothing but same. Jnana Yoga and Sankhya Yoga same only.
Both, okay, same.
Just a minute. There was a yoga ladder.
Then Prabhuji, how this Jnana Yoga is higher than Nishkam Karma Yoga?
Because one works in knowledge.
So Nishkam Yoga is Karma Yoga is also knowledge.
Yeah, so that's why they're almost same. They're almost same.
But in Jnana Yoga, they don't work for the pleasure of Lord. So Nishkam Karma Yoga is, should miss higher than Jnana Yoga.
Actually, here the typical Jnana Yogi, which when they refer to, he may renounce all the activities, but is always engaged in meditation on the Lord. So that way, you know, is that way he is like, you know, considered to be great person, because he is becoming free from all the actions, but at the same time, he is fully engaged in meditation on the Lord. So that's why the kind of Jnana Yogi is also accepted. Yeah, so see this yoga ladder, the lowest is animal life, above that is karma kanda, human life, above that is karma yoga. So yoga ladder begins with karma yoga. Before that is basically not yoga ladder, but it is a below stage. Then karma yoga, above that is jnana yoga. Then above that is ashtanga yoga. Above that is bhakti yoga, which leads to brahman life. So generally it is understood that the person performs work in this world out of the influence of mode of passion. But when person becomes free from passion, he elevates to goodness and becomes increased in knowledge and detachment, that is considered jnana yoga. So whereas a person performing karma yoga has got kind of attachment to karma. Like that. So that's why karma yoga is put below jnana yoga. He has got some attachment to karma. Means what? Karma yoga person, sakama karma yogi says that I will I will do particular work only, and I will also enjoy the fruits of its work. But some of the fruits I will offer to Krishna. That is sakama karma yogi. Nishkama karma yogi means fully detached from the fruits but attached to work. He says I do this service only, दूसरा सेवा नहीं करूंगा. मैं टेलर हूं तो मैं कृष्णा के लिए स्टिचिंग ही करूंगा, मैं टॉयलेट बाथरूम क्लीनिंग नहीं करूंगा. So that is kind of nishkama karma yoga. But jnana yoga means one becomes detached from the fruits as well as activities. That's why it is considered to be little higher. There is no attachment in material world. So nishkama karma only has got some jnana. What is that jnana? That I am not this body and soul, but still he has got some kind of attachment for particular activity work. Whereas bhakti means bhakti person also doesn't have attachment to neither karma nor to the fruits, not to any activity, nor to fruits. But what is the difference between bhakti yogi and jnana yogi then? The bhakti yoga has got positive attachment to Krishna, whereas jnana yogi doesn't have that. And that's why bhakti yogi is even superior. In terms of karma, both are detached, whether activities or fruits. In both ways, they are detached. Jnana yogi is also detached, bhakti yogi is also detached. So bhakti yogi says, I can do any activity. So what is jnana yogi's consciousness? I will not do any activity. That's what jnana yogi is. Because activity itself also brings to reactions, and the fruits bring further miseries. So I don't do any activities. It gives up activities in themselves. Bhakti yogi, what he says that I can do anything for Krishna. Whether it may be toilet cleaning, it may be giving classes, it may be book distribution, or it may be anything. I will do anything for Krishna. That is the Bhakti yogi's mind. So because Karma yogi has got little attachment to work, to different degrees in one way. So that's why he's considered to be lower in the ladder of this thing. But this Ashtanga Yogi and Jnana Yogi, this type of thing is not much recommended by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, if you see, because this karma sannyas is little impractical. That's what will come ahead. Arjun will say that this process we are giving up all the activities is impractical. So generally, for a general person, Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga is not so easy to practice. So that's why better another way, it is said that from Karma Yoga, person directly goes to the platform of Bhakti Yoga and he can surpass these stages of Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga. Because they are little difficult to perform. So these all things will come ahead.
Okay, brother. Thank you, brother. So can we also say something like this, Puji? Let's say somebody who is climbing up the ladder, he reaches to Jnana Yoga, but then he realizes that I can be working for Krishna probably, doing activities that is related to Krishna, like maybe serving Krishna in some or the other way. Then he comes back from Jnana Yoga to Karma Yoga, but now adds Krishna to it, and that how it becomes Bhakti Yoga.
It may happen that way also.
Or like other example of Babajis also, where they don't even do the activities, so they are fully, I mean, in terms of like chanting or something like that, and they are serving in that way.
But they are not considered Jnana Yogis, they are considered Bhakti Yogis only. Because if they are devoted to Krishna, then they are Bhakti Yogis. If they are devoted to impersonal Brahmajyoti, then they get considered Jnana Yogis. Like, who is the object? That is also important. So somebody who is in a Jnana Yoga, he may realize that it is very tough. You know, थोड़ा खुजली हो रहा है, कुछ तो करना चाहिए जीवन में. ऐसा क्या बैठे बैठे केवल हम ब्रह्मास्मि करना बहुत बोरिंग लग रहा है. So then he may take up activities, but if he is enlightened by the association of a devotee, and if he understands the process of Bhakti Yoga, he will understand this is a very suitable process. Better I not act for my own self gratification, I purely act only for Krishna's pleasure. And in this way, so that kind of topmost level of Nishkama Karma Yoga is almost like Bhakti Yoga.
Okay.
So it is a smooth process. It's not like ek, then second, not like that. It is a smooth progression. So degree one's attachment to karma and the fruits reduced, that degree one advances in the yoga ladder.
Okay.
And further is after Jnana Yoga, which is a 0 point. So degree one's attachment to Krishna increases, one advances in Bhakti Yoga like that. But directly from Nishkama Karma Yoga, one can jump to Bhakti Yoga because it is quite similar. It is quite related. One doesn't have to necessarily come to Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga, because even in Ashtanga Yoga, one may get Brahman realized and go to Brahman.
Right.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhuji, can you tell me how practically is it possible to work without attachment to result? What does that mean?
So, without attachment to proofs or results means, in a practical sense, better we produce results for Krishna's pleasure and offer the fruits of our work for Krishna's pleasure. So basically here what is emphasized when we say without desire for results or fruits working means what? That 2-3 things. One is that we offer the fruits of our activities to Krishna. And second, most important is that we don't become the enjoyer of those fruits. We only accept Krishna Prasad. So means what? Suppose we are earning some money. So that entirety of that money should be used for Krishna's service. But also because that our body is engaged in Krishna's service, so certain money can be spent for our bodily maintenance. Now, if one considers one's relatives as also, one understands that they are also Krishna's devotees and they are meant to be Krishna's devotees at least, then one spends some money for them. And in this way, one, even though one may be engaged in some kind of activities in this world and the results of this work are basically taken or used, but they are always done in reference to Krishna. No, a person who gives an independent plan of sense gratification with the fruits of his actions, and he uses everything for Krishna's pleasure, so that is a practical way. Means what? If I have money, I will use it either for direct service to Krishna, some part for my own bodily maintenance and my own things, but my life is also devoted to Krishna. And in this way, that is also Krishna consciousness only. And similarly, some money I may spend for relatives and parents and this and that. Okay, because family, but also I want to make them also devotees of Krishna. And I want them to also come closer and closer to Krishna. So in this way, everything is being utilized for Krishna's pleasure only. I don't use my money for going for movies or for eating in restaurants or for any other non-Krishna conscious cause. So that is a practical way of this thing. So devotee may also go, but he will go to holy places. Again, it is for pleasure of Krishna. He goes. He goes there to see Krishna. He goes there to hear about Krishna. He goes there to pray to Krishna. In this way, although he's using his money for going to some places, but because that is holy places only, or he goes and travels for preaching, isn't it? So in this way, ultimately the goal and center of all activities is Krishna. So that becomes a Nishkam Karma Yoga. Even though one may be doing apparently material activities and using his fruits for apparently material activities, but the goal is to satisfaction of Krishna, and that's why they become directly Bhakti Yoga, or even kind of Nishkam Karma Yoga. So basic point is that one should not use one's resources or the fruits of one's activities for one's sense gratification, which is not sanctioned by the law. So suppose somebody is a householder. Now he may cook varieties of items, but he doesn't want to enjoy himself. He wants to offer it to Krishna, then he distributes some of devotees and also partakes some percent for himself. So that way it is Nishkam Karma Yoga only.
And yes, Pradeep, thank you. Pradeep. And also, when we do our duties on this Nishkam Karma Yoga platform, so does that mean that sometimes when we don't get result, the expected result, we do not become disappointed, and when we get the result, we should not be overjoyed?
Yeah, that's what is the platform of Karma Yoga, right? That's what Krishna is telling. Sama Sukhe, what is that? Sama Sukhe Dukhe Krutva Labha Labho Jaya Jayu says like that. That first verse which we began with for this particular section of Karma Yoga, that's the first verse now. So now, as I said before also, that the emotions may come, but those emotions should not too much affect our actions. Like that. So now, when this is 38th verse, Sukhe Dukhe Same Krutva Labha Labho Jaya Jayu. So if one gets fruits, one will feel happy naturally. If one does not get fruits according to our actions, one will feel morose. But that should not lead into giving up our prescribed duty and service to Krishna. One should continue serving Krishna. So we see that how Prabhupada manifested this. Prabhupada preached, for so many years, and for many years there was no result. But Prabhupada continued preaching. He did not give up his instructions to his Guru Maharaj. For instruction he had received from his Guru Maharaj, he did not give it up. So when Prabhupada was there in the West, every day, practically in the beginning year, he used to go to that dockyard and used to ask when the next ship is going to India. And over the period of time, they would say, Swamiji, you come every day, but you never board the ship. Prabhupada said, no, it is my Guru's instruction. So there was a pain. The devotee feels pain that there is no result. But at the same time, he continues to follow instruction. Now on our practical day-to-day basis, in a day-to-day functioning, if there is a no fruits or results are not coming, one may also try to find out what is the cause. It is not wrong to find out the cause and try to work in a way to get better fruits. That is not a wrong thing. So rather than just lamenting, one should try to find out. Like for example, somebody doesn't get good marks. And one may say, I studied very nicely. I did my duty of studying very nicely. Still, I didn't get good marks. So, okay, one can try to find out. Maybe I studied nicely, but I did not write paper nicely. Or I did not study in a way which is expected. And then one can try to improve in his studies. So that is not considered wrong. But that doesn't mean that if I don't get the result at all, then I give up my duty itself. That is not considered proper. So one can figure out, maybe there was something wrong, maybe something went wrong, maybe, where one can take some guidance. How can the results improve? Like in preaching also, one may preach and may not get result in some place. One can try to find out, what went wrong, did I preach in right manner? Okay, I preached, but did I preach under proper guidance? Did I ask what should be done at this point, that point? Something might have gone wrong. And one may take a guidance and try to improve the fruits and results. Because ultimately we are offering them to Krishna, so that is fine to do that. So the emotions will be there, but the emotions should not make us discouraged from performing the duty or the service in the duty.
Yes, Pradeep. Yes, please. Thank you. Pradeep, one last question. So, a Kshatriya who has military prowess, but he is on the side fighting on the side of religion, like Duryodhana, Karna, and Jarasandha. So, will they also attain higher planets after dying in the battlefield?
Yes.
Because
yes, they will also attain higher destination. First of all of them went back to Godhead because they died in front of Krishna, and while dying, they appreciated the beauty of Krishna, and that's why all of them went back to Godhead. That is mentioned in Bhagavatam. First canto of Bhagavatam, it mentions that everybody went back to Godhead. Had Krishna not been present over there, but still they would have attained Swargaloka, because first of all, the battle is itself religious, because it is religiously performed. So that's why we are discussing the elements of religious battle, that the women are not killed, children are not killed, they are given full protection. Only Kshatriyas fight, and also there are codes and conducts of, that you should not fight with an enemy who is fleeing away or enemy who is surrendered. ये जो codes है, religious codes are there. Yuddha Shastra के जो codes है, then they are fought with that way, then the Kshatriya will go also to heavenly planets, even though it may be kind of irreligious. Because, of course, again, the definition of religious and irreligious is little, it was quite high that time. That we see even Duryodhan, he was not engaged into kind of meat eating, illicit sex, and intoxication and all these kind of things much. In fact, Duryodhan also kept his promise when Arjuna asked him 5 arrows. Duryodhan kept his promise and gave also. Arjuna could go in the night in the camp of Duryodhan, and Duryodhan did not harm him at all. Right? So even that level of ethics were there, and that's why such warriors can go to Swarga, because a lot of ethics are followed. Although Duryodhan is in general considered to be irreligious, like that.
Proji, but they killed Abhimanyu also very religiously. That was not following the Kshatriya code, and in that way also that is a irreligion. So, if Krishna would not have been present on that battlefield, so in that case, what would have been the destination of such warriors?
Still, they would have gone to heaven, because in general basic codes they are following. So some miserable person will get also, of course, for not, because you see it is 99% they fought religiously, only 1% irreligious. Then they will get reaction for that 1% of irreligious fighting also. And but also 90% they have not fought religiously, then they'll get results for that also.
Okay, Proji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, the activities which we perform, the results are somewhat determined by our past punya or papa, like our destiny also. So, like Prabhuji, when we perform Nishkam Karma Yoga, are the fruits of, are the results of those activities influenced by our previous karma, Prabhuji?
If Nishkama Karma Yoga is done in devotion to Krishna, that was second level of Nishkama Karma Yoga which we discussed, then it is not depending on our destiny, it is in the hands of the Lord. As soon as person gets connected to the Lord, then the Lord is the person who controls it. If it is Nishkam Karma Yoga is done without reference to the Lord, then certainly the previous actions will influence the results. But the present action which one is doing, that will not produce any karmic reactions in Nishkam Karma. But previous destiny which we have created by our own particular activities, that may influence the results. That may happen. But one who is in devotion to Krishna, for him there is no such influence. That is in Krishna's hands. So it is not karmic reaction.
Yes, thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, Hari Bol. So we'll meet tomorrow. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you.